Good day, everybody. Thanks for joining us. You're watching Talent Talk, and I am your host, Gary McLean. I wanted to thank folks that have submitted videos for the co host contest over the last several weeks. And just to remind folks to join us for next week's episode, as that's when we'll be announcing the winner of the contest. And also to remind the folks that are watching that this is a interactive show, so please participate, say hello, ask questions, whatever's on your mind. Just type it out on the screen and we'll have a look at it. Now, today's guest, he is a singer, actor, producer, and so much more. Music takes root in soul and hip hop, drawing from personal observed experiences. His experience in film and music ranges from sound mixing and scoring to directing and producing. He's recently released two new singles, I Can Be and Feel This, both which have featured visuals directed by and featuring himself. Most recently, he's played the part of Markus, one of the main characters in the upcoming short film Surrogate, which I believe has been released, but we can touch base on that. We will also be touching on a couple of his other projects, a short film called Within, and a short film slash music video, mostly music video, but it's the way it's done. It looks like a short film. And it's great. Also called What You've Done to Me. Both are great projects and worth checking out. So please join me in welcoming Rome.
Hey,
How's it going, man?
it is great. How are you doing?
It's can't complain.
Cannot.
It's going all right. Um, I'm kind of curious. Do you actually remember how we met?
I do. I do.
Yeah.
um, 2000. I think it was like 2013. And you had put a post up on a Facebook group looking for someone to help you with your demo reel. You wanted just a couple actors and whatnot, and I reached out, said, "Hey, let's try this."
Yeah. Absolutely, man.
Yeah, and that was we shot that down at Sate.
We did. Yeah. It was interesting, that's for sure.
Yeah,
Um,
I don't know. I feel like I saw you did end up using the footage from that.
I
Did that
did.
ever end up like getting anywhere for you or?
I mean, we used the footage obviously to create the demo reel, but of course now since then I've kind of replaced it. But yeah, it got its use. I think it helped a little bit. So thanks for that.
Thank you.
Right. Well, I'm kind of curious. Was that like had you done anything really prior to that? Or
So any acting that I'd done prior to that wasn't like, oh, I want to get into acting. Like prior to that, I had done something in college at our. I went to Red Deer College for music, did guitar, and at the end of the year, they would do a year-end like performance of all the songs that everyone had kind of been working on throughout the year. And the last year that I was there, we decided that rather than just like, oh, and now so and so is going to perform, we're like, we want to have like a storyline and plot and like scene changes and all this sort of stuff. And so we decided that rather than having an MC, we wanted to have these characters who led you on this journey through the whole thing. And I was one of the guys helping like produce and plan this. I had no intentions of actually acting in it, but then they're like, "Oh, well, you should do it." So that would have been my experience prior to that. But no, realistically, shooting with you for your demo reel was kind of my first step into the water.
nice. And how did it kind of progress from that point? I suppose. Like we'll definitely touch on it a little bit, but I know you and I had an opportunity to work on another theater project a little later
Which
on.
was the next step.
That was the next step for you? Okay.
Yeah. And once again, thank you for that because you were the one who reached back out to me and, remembering that I had mentioned being interested in acting, you're like, hey, you should try for this part. And
Yes.
so I did.
And
I'm quiet. I can turn up.
thanks for the
Thank you,
comment.
Mr. Javier.
Speaking of the gentleman that was just mentioning that you were a bit quiet, he was also in that project with us. Yes.
Yes.
Um, you know what? I've never really talked about it publicly. Like I've talked to people about it, individually, I suppose, but I've never
Yeah.
really chatted publicly about it. But um, you had a magnificent role of Jules. for the folks
Don't
watching.
ask me to recite anything from that.
Oh my God, me either, dude. Me either. But yeah, I do remember. Yeah, that was a fantastic role, and we were all so ready for that. Pulp Fiction, by the way, folks, if you're not familiar who Jules was, but
So yeah, so my experience with that again, uh, after you reached out to me and said I should audition, I had never auditioned,
oh,
and
okay,
so when they did, when I reached out to them, said I was interested, and they reached back and like, oh, can you come in? I think I reached out to them on like the Friday, and they wanted to see me on the Sunday, and so I'm like, oh my god, like they sent back that whole entire Brett's house scene, and
right,
so they wanted the entire scene. And so from my understanding of acting and whatnot, I was like, well, you can't be on script. You can't have anything there. You've got to know it. And so I took from Friday to Sunday, memorized this whole scene, and went into the audition. And I had the paper with me, but like did not look at it. And we finished the audition, and they're like, "You didn't have to. You could have read." I was like, "Oh, like okay, cool."
yeah,
Just spent my weekend memorizing lines, which I do actually still appreciate that experience because it one helped me realize that I could do it, um, and pushed me a little more than I probably would have been pushed if I had known that I had that crutch to stand on or walk with.
yeah, and you know what? I mean, as much as they say you don't need to do that, I don't know. It just to me the scene just goes so much smoother when you do have it in your
Yeah,
head, right? You're not focused on the paper and going, "Oh, what was that? Oh yeah, yeah, right."
yeah,
Totally breaks
yeah.
the flow of it, right? So kudos to you for doing that. And I didn't realize that was actually your first experience with really auditioning. So yeah, just getting thrown to the wolves is what happened there. Um,
It's funny. I was watching HBO just did the Fresh Prince of Bel Air reunion show, and so I was watching that last night, and Will Smith was talking, and they were saying that in like the first 5 episodes of the very first season, of course, Will Smith had done no acting before then either, and so he memorized everyone else's lines. He didn't just memorize his, and so what he would end up doing, without knowing that he wasn't supposed to do this, he would be mouthing everyone's lines in between. And so they like showed a couple shots and he's sitting there like, ah!
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Things you learn as you go on. There's like unless you do classes or get into it in a formal sense, you're kind of just thrown into the deep end and have to figure it out.
right. And as scary as that can be, that's actually not a bad way sometimes.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, because you definitely get diving in both feet, right? Um, so after Pulp Fiction kind of went and you know went its way, which we
Mhm.
won't get into details on that, but let's just say it didn't end up happening. We didn't end up doing the show. We were all very sad. Um,
Yeah, it ended up splattered all over the back of the car. Yeah.
yeah, it really did. um, what kind of transpired after that for you? Like, did you continue with the acting, or is that when you kind of started into getting into the sound side of it, or
Oh, let me think. So I started getting into the sound side of it around the same time. Um, I had gone to the Academy of Production and Recording Arts here in town at the Beach Studios. And I went into there to do music and sound engineering and stuff. And part of their course was post production. And so I went through that course and actually started to meet a few people through that. And so that's actually how I met Garrick. Mitchell Verigen was from working on one of their projects. And so from that, I started doing more sound. And then at the same time that we were working on Pulp Fiction, I had written a script, or I started writing a script that um, it was really just like I had no intention of actually filming it or doing anything. I was just writing, had this idea. And then Story Hive started. And so I was like, oh, well, why not just like try and see if I can get this made? So sat down and started figuring out how to like go through that whole process and everything I need to come up with a treatment for it and all that sort of stuff. And so yeah, so all around the same time I was doing sound for other short film projects. Acting didn't really get too far for that first little bit. Um, and then I didn't win Story Hive, but at that point I'd done all the work and talked to people and crew and locations and everything else. I'm like, well, screw it, I'm just going to shoot this anyways. So that was Within. And then from there, I think acting again, I was on all these different shoots doing sound. And so I was talking to people, kind of mentioning the interest, but not really pursuing it. And then it started picking up after I actually ended up talking with my current agent, Jay Fox at 1048. And she was kind of trying to build her roster at the time. And so she reached out to me based off of a conversation we'd had years before about me wanting to get into voice acting. I had approached her saying that I was interested in that, and um, it just never went anywhere. And then we ended up connecting again. And so started getting into doing commercials, and then from there started picking back up with the acting thing.
Okay.
Hmm.
So just out of curiosity, with the voice stuff, did you end up taking any courses for that or
No,
doing
I've had
anything
a
like
few
that really?
auditions for a few things, but still haven't gone too far into that realm.
Okay. Okay. You know Brendan Hunter, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. If you ever get a chance, I would recommend one of his classes. That's my plug for Brendan.
Free
um, uh,
publicity on Talent Talk.
right? Totally. He's been a previous guest, so it's all good. Um, I like to plug my previous guests. So,
Yeah. I mean, it just
um,
seems like a natural progression. Musician, actor, like why not the voice acting, right?
right. Well, and the thing is, with your voice, right, having the singing background, you must have a fair range of things you can do with your voice, right? So, it kind of makes sense.
Weirdly, I feel like voice acting is such a different thing from singing and acting in general. Like you're having to emote without your face, without your like your physical. And so singing, it's like you can get some of that, but it's more of a feeling. Whereas voice acting, especially if you're getting into like the animated type roles, it's yeah.
Well, I'm kind of curious. Did you ever see the video of Benedict Cumberbatch playing the dragon off The Hobbit?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes, yeah.
he was definitely animated while he was doing the voice.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that was very entertaining. Like I gained a lot of respect for him after I saw that. I was like, wow,
Yeah,
that's amazing.
yeah.
Um,
Watching a lot of voice actors, especially people who can do multiple voices just like that,
right.
watching
Yeah.
how they do it is incredible.
Yeah. No,
Hmm.
absolutely. I do want to go back a little bit to because you did touch on. Uh, oh my goodness, it just left my head. Um,
You talking about
what you've
within?
done to me. What you've done to
Oh, what
me.
you done me? Hmm.
Yes. Um, and within because they both kind of tie in with Garrick,
Yes.
and so I know you've collaborated on a few different projects with him, and um, and you've mentioned a little bit about how you guys kind of met and started doing productions. Um, I'm just kind of curious as to uh, how often, I guess. Like you guys were pretty close, I think, right?
Not as close as I would have liked.
Well, I think
But
that's that
but
definitely
yes,
goes for a lot of people, right?
it was definitely more of a we're working on film things, and so as he was working on a project and needed help, he'd reach out to me. As I was working on a project and whatever, I'd reach out to him. But he definitely was someone who I respected, looked up to, admired, appreciated, and yeah, like every chance I had to work on a project with him was just it was fun. It was a learning experience. Um, took away a lot of things from working with him. I was actually when I released Within, I was looking back through footage to see if I had anything to kind of just like put together a little behind the scenes and stuff. Of course, he was behind the camera on all of this, so there wasn't much footage of him. But even just going through that and hearing conversations with him were nice memories to replay.
For sure. I mean, he's the kind of guy who, um, yeah, you really didn't have to know him for
You
very
knew when
long
he
to
was in the
have,
room. Like
yeah,
you couldn't not acknowledge that he took up space. Not in a
right?
bad way. He took up
No,
space.
not at all. Not at all.
Like,
Um,
and he would just bust out into song and dance and just invite you into his world
yeah,
so effortlessly.
yeah,
I actually
absolutely.
remember, I don't remember why, but he came over and him and I were talking about something. Actually, no, I had a client over to do some recording. They were working on some music and stuff, and he came by to pick up a hard drive or something from me. And the little bit of time that he was in the room there with these guys, they fell in love with him and ended up like he just came for 5 minutes to pick up a hard drive and then ended up staying for like half an hour. And my friend who was doing the recording was like, "Oh man, like I just love this guy. He's I need him to be my mentor."
No, it's so true. Like his personality was just so infectious.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, absolutely. So, uh, yeah, I guess that was our little thing with Garrick. Rest in peace, my friend.
rest in peace. Yeah, he
Um,
yeah. So working with him, I met him at the beach, and he had entered his project Anna's Wish into a competition that they were having, and so they won. And the prize was you get all the sound completely redone on this project. You get the ADR, the Foley, everything top to bottom. And then from there, I ended up doing sound on his and Mitchell's project Jesse, his project Gold. I did sound on what was the other one? I'm thinking of another project I worked on, but I did sound on a bunch of these different things. But then I actually brought him in to work on Within for me because when I started with Story Hive, I had gone to a couple friends and people that I knew and kind of reached out to them saying, I know what I want from the actors, but I need help figuring out how the shots are going to look and everything else like that. And so I was expecting that they would be taking care of a lot of that sort of stuff, not realizing that they were expecting that from me. So we went in, we did the first set of shooting, and I just wasn't happy with it. And nothing to them. Like they did everything great. It was me not knowing what I wanted.
right,
And so I went to Garrick and I was like, "Hey, look, man, like I want to get this done, but I need help figuring out how this is going to look." And so that's how he ended up getting involved with Within. And we went through a bunch of different things with that where we started shooting. There was two locations. We had our main location, and then we had an auto shop. And so we had to do those on different days. And we went to shoot one, and then one of the actors had a family emergency, so he had to run, so we had to stop. So we rescheduled. But by the time we rescheduled, the other actor had gotten into like a work injury, so he wasn't available to like do stuff. And so then he was waiting. I was waiting on him to get better, and finally he's like, "Look, just recast." So I had to recast. So he had to go back and reshoot things that we'd already shot. Um, yeah. So we ended up like we finally finished it, and I think Garrick did see the final cut. I don't think he heard like after the sound was done, but like he definitely saw the final cut. But unfortunately, it was completed just after his passing and stuff. But
right, right. And did you release that to a bunch of festivals? And like, was it
I submitted it to Stinger Awards.
okay?
That's the only one I've submitted it to this time because like I said, I started that project back in 2013. Um,
Yeah,
it's been finished since about 2018, and I only just released it this year. And it kind of was like I just needed to be done. The actors have been waiting to see it, um, and I just feel like my efforts could be better put towards taking what I've learned from that and moving forward on another project.
yeah. No, that's
So
fair.
yeah,
And where can folks check this out?
it is on YouTube. on my Conscious Productions page, Conscious with a K.
Oh, you know what? I should have put that on here. I'll throw that on in a second.
Mhm.
Um, is it all one word for the channel?
Oh, should be 2 words. That's a good
Okay.
question.
All right. Just for folks.
Dominic.
Yeah. I highly recommend to check out some of Jerome's work on his YouTube page. Um, there's yeah. I checked out Within. It's very good. I really enjoyed that, and of course, I don't know why the title always escapes me, but What You've Done
Mhm.
to Me as well. It's another great video. So definitely check out his YouTube channel and give those a watch.
Yeah, what you've done
Um,
to me is actually on Garrick's channel.
oh, it's on Garrick's on
Hmm. G5 Films.
G5 Films. Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely check that out. Um, so musically,
Hmm.
was What You've Done to Me, was that kind of your first music video?
Yes, actually.
It was. Okay.
Hmm.
But you've been playing music obviously for quite some time. Um,
Yeah.
it's not something you just kind of pick up and do, but
Well, these days people do it. I
well,
started playing guitar back in high school and kind of been doing music since then. So let's not give my age.
I don't know, man. Ever since I met you, like even today, you still look 23 to me. So I don't know. I don't know how you do it, but
uh, Me neither. I don't know.
um,
For
but
starters, not
yeah,
having kids. That's.
but you've got something there. Honestly, I've aged a lot since I've had children. It's true. Sorry, kids. Love you dearly. Um, um, yeah. So I'm just kind of curious though, because obviously when I first met you, I didn't really know about the music side of it. And is that something you just kind of kept it more private up until recently, or what kind of drove you to be much more outward about creating your music and creating your videos and that kind of thing? Was it?
um, I guess in some senses, I'm not an overly private person, but I'm not all out there all the time. So I guess that would make sense that I don't feel like I've hidden it. Um, but I guess depending on the circles I'm in, I tend to announce it when it comes up. I don't walk in and say that's the first like that's not the first thing I say when I walk into a conversation. So I guess, yeah, I've never really thought that I was hiding it, but in the last couple of years, I definitely feel like I've reached a point where I'm more confident in what I'm doing. Um, because it's one thing to be able to play music and do it. It's another thing to know or feel like you have an identity in it or you know what your sound is. And that was something that I feel I've struggled with for a long time, just kind of doing music and then being like, oh, well, I I can play guitar, but I'm not a country singer, so we're gonna stay away from that. I make beats, I do recording and engineering, so that kind of lends itself to hip hop, but I'm not like I can rap and I do it, but I'm not really like a rapper, and so kind of just like going through all these things and trying to find where I fit in it, and feeling confident in that and not feeling like I'm just writing and doing what everyone else is doing. I think in the last 3 years, um, actually about like 2 or 3 years ago, I actually reached a point where I was questioning whether or not I wanted to continue doing music. Um, and so I sat down and I was like, okay, if you're not doing music, what are you actually going to do? Like, because right now I do music as a career and for fun. So what else do I do for fun? And I'm like, I don't do anything other than music. So I don't think I could give it up. Like, it's like, okay, well, so we're back in this. We just got to figure it out and take another look at it and see how that goes. So, yeah.
And that's fair. I guess I should retract a little bit. Um, that when I first met you, I didn't really realize you were into music because how many times would you grab the guitar when we were on set for Pulp and just start jamming and singing and doing your thing?
Yeah,
Um,
but I would say that that's something that a lot of people are able to do. So being able to play music versus being like an aspiring musician or career artist, I think there's a separation there for sure.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, yeah. Um, so this kind of leads into, because I've got one of your videos lined up here for folks to check out.
Mm.
Um, and maybe you can, I don't know, give us a bit of a lead into it. The title is "Feel This,"
What can I
and
tell you? I'll tell you this. So I had an entirely different plan for this music video.
okay,
Um, I'll kind of give you the spiel. I had this idea where the song starts and you're kind of in this POV position walking up to the a house, and across the door is like crime scene tape, and you walk into this crime scene, and the whole music video is just you walking through this crime scene kind of in slow motion or whatever, and in the background you see detectives taking photos with the little like blocks saying evidence piece 12 or whatever, and paramedics walking out of the house with a stretcher. But essentially the idea that I wanted to go with for this was that throughout the whole thing I never tell you what the crime actually was. You're just walking through
okay,
this crime scene. You kind of have to like choose your own adventure with it, but it ends with me on the floor dead, but like mouthing the words to the song or whatever. Anyways, so I had this idea, and in my mind, I'd started looking into people to help me with set deck and things like that, and then COVID came
ah,
and crushed all my plans.
yes, yes, good old COVID.
Yeah, yeah, and so kind of about a month into like lockdown or whatever you want to call it, I was kind of like, okay, well, I can't work on projects with people in person, so like, shoot, maybe I can do this at home by myself. And then it kind of became like a challenge just to see what I could create by myself. So yeah, so then I ended up kind of coming up with that idea and shooting it in a weekend, and there we are.
All right. On that note, let's check out "Feel This."
Lately, I've been drowning in your love and I can't clear my mind. Blurry vision, all I see is you. It seems to be the oxygen leaving my lungs at a rapid pace. Your love's poison in the spaces in between my eyes. Don't need a breath of fresh air. Baby, your love's overwhelming. I can't let this feeling go. You ain't taking over, give me control. Don't bring me down, just fill me up. Tell me you can feel this love. Let me take a second, just dedicate this record to my baby. Cash is checking. I think I need to check in. Doc, I'm here just double checking. She said the infection's setting, and there ain't no antidote for the dose of poisonous injection. It's all or nothing, baby. Forget the million. You're the one in a gun that said the stunning. I'll be the sky you said your son in. Maybe the father to your son, and someday maybe even your husband. I know this is a touchy subject. I ain't usually in rushing, but your radiance radiates my radiated heart. I'm down with every heartbeat that we ever spend apart. You walked into my life, but I think I was meant to run into you. So I gave you my last breath with a kiss, so I could stare into your eyes. Don't need a breath of fresh air. No, no, no. a breath of fresh air. Baby, your love's overwhelming. I can't let this feeling go. You ain't taking over, give me control. Don't bring me down, just fill me up. Tell me you can feel this love.
Nice work, man.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Both musically and visually. Yeah.
That
I like the gratuitous topless shot at the end for the ladies. Yeah.
I gotta bank in on this sex appeal somehow, man. Oh man.
No, that was the
the ending scenes. Once I got in the shower, were the worst to film. It was like, hey, you gotta get like without, because I'm like, okay, I can't tell how much you really be able to tell whether or not the suit was wet. So I don't know how many times I'm gonna actually have to get this suit wet. So I gotta get it. Oh,
one take wonder. Is that what that was?
I managed to get about 2 or 3 takes in.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Well, that's still not horrible. That's all right. So I think I've got this right, hopefully. But if folks want to check out some of your stuff, they can check it out here. Scroll it along the bottom there. So go to YouTube, check out Conscious Productions, check out some of his work. I'll let that scroll for a little while. And let's talk about the other single. I don't have the video up for that one, but I Can Be is another one that you've recently released. And maybe you can chat about that one a little bit. What was your inspiration for the song itself? And again, check out the video on YouTube, by the way, folks.
Yeah, so actually the video for you, the video for I Can Be and Feel This are actually on my artist YouTube account,
which is
Rome IX.
Okay. You know what? I'm just going to add that on here for folks. But yeah, go ahead and continue.
Not to be confusing and have like 17 different pages or anything, but I Can Be was a song that was produced by a friend of mine here in town, Amore, who's a super talented singer, dancer, rapper, producer, kind of does everything. And him and I were just hanging out, going through tracks, and so he was just playing me, going through his catalog, played a bunch, and then that one just kind of like jumped out at me, and immediately I started kind of hearing some melodies and some lyrics and stuff. So I didn't really, a lot of times I don't go into my songs like with an idea of what they are actually about. They kind of like Feel This and I Can Be are some of those songs where it just kind of like happened, it rolled out,
Okay.
and then I was like, oh, okay, cool, I have a song.
Nice.
Yeah. And so that's kind of what happened with I Can Be. And then for the music video for that, I don't remember why, but it gives me a like vintage throwback kind of feel, and so I had in my head that I wanted to have it at a bowling alley. And so that one was shot by my friend Wayne Token Productions, and it was shot down at Mountain View Bowl down in the southwest of Calgary there. And thankfully they were very, very cooperative with us and allowed us to film in there. And we shot them some promo footage as well while we were down there. But yeah, it was yeah, I don't know. It was a weird one because I had the idea for like doing it in a bowling alley, but again, it was like, okay, well, what's the story? And so then I was like, all right, well, let's just go with the song. And the song's kind of about falling in love with someone who you've known for a long time, you've been friends with, and all of a sudden, like the second you think about it, or the second someone mentions like, oh, you guys would be great together, and you're like, nah, and then all of a sudden you're like, wait, actually we would. Why haven't we? It was kind of like the idea behind the song. And there's a little like intro skit at the beginning of it. I don't know where that came from. It just happened.
All right. Was it like on the fly of the day, or
No, like I knew that there was going to be an intro to it, but I wrote the script part of it the night before.
Okay, nice, nice.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know.
A little bit of surprise for folks when they get up to set that day.
Yeah. Yeah. And Chris Casson really pulled that off. He was also in What You've Done to Me. And so I'm kind of like, he unfortunately, like everyone else, moved to Vancouver. But I was like, I want you to be in like all my projects, kind of like be the Samuel L. Jackson to my Tarantino.
Right?
Yeah, so
Absolutely.
I think I'll bring you back. Like whatever I got to do, I'll bring you back for these projects in the future. But
So, well, actually, before I get to my next question, I
mhm.
do just want to remind folks that are watching that it is live. So, keep participating. I know the folks that are. Thank you very much. But if you have any questions as well for myself or for Rome here, just um, pop them in. We'll answer them as we go along.
And say hi so
Um,
I know that there's people actually watching.
yes, yes, absolutely. And there are.
Uh,
I can see numbers. You probably can't see
I
numbers
can.
on your
Yeah, it's
end,
all
but
good.
I do see numbers, so it's all good. And we do have numbers. So thank you for watching. um, the first question I kind of have is the name
Hmm.
Rome 9. Like obviously the Rome comes from Jerome. I'm just wondering where the 9 comes from.
Yeah, so kind of again in that coming to the conclusion that music is what I want to do and whatnot, and kind of getting a little more serious about it, realized that uh, I had put some music out on Spotify under Rome. And anytime anyone asked me, well, where's your music? I'd have to like pull it up for them because I can't even find myself. There's just that many Romes and artists that have more um, above me, so that anytime like anyone was looking for me on there, they couldn't find me. And so I was like, okay, I need an identifier that's just unique to me, so that like I don't want to change my name from Rome, but I just need an identifier. And so the 9, the IX comes from one, Roman numerals. So that was
Nice.
the start of that. And then I actually just looked up numerology because I wanted to find a number that was significant and not just like pull a random number.
Right, Rome 1. Woo.
Yeah, exactly, right?
Rome 2.
Yeah. And it was kind of also, there's another artist who, when you look at his name spelt out, it's Quinn XCII, but it's actually Quinn 92. And for me, looking at that, I would never think of the number 92. So for me, I was like, okay, well, I want to actually have it said Rome IX, because and it's funny actually right now a lot of people have to ask me, they're like, is it Rome 9 or is it Rome IX? Because I didn't think anyone would actually click into calling it 9. I just assumed you'd read it and say Rome IX.
Right.
And so it
Okay.
actually kind of becomes like a conversation starter where it's like, well, is it 9? Is it IX? Why is it 9? But anyway, so the reason for the number 9, I looked up in numerology, and um, if you if you look up numerology and enter your birth date into these numerology calculators and whatnot, the number for my birthday is 9. And then I also found out that the numerology number for the name Rome is also 9.
Okay. All right.
So now the number 9 in numerology represents is representative of beginnings and endings. It's kind of like the end of the single digits, but right before the double digits, and it has like this cyclical effect, um, especially when you even look at how numerology is calculated. All the numbers that get to 9, it kind of has this cyclical effect to it. But I related to it a lot because again I felt like I had reached a point where uh, how do I say this? I reached a point where it was like, okay, this is it. Like if I can't make it work this time, then I don't know what else I'm gonna do with music. So thinking about the fact that cats have 9 lives. So for me, I was like, okay, well, I kind of feel like I've also gone through 9 different iterations of my sound and my style and my journey on my music career. And so kind of took all of that and was like, okay, well, this is it. I got to make this ninth time count. And for better or worse, however long it goes, this is the journey.
Well, so, so really, there's been a lot of thought into this number.
Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah.
That's very cool, though. Yeah, no, and it does, right? It's a simple thing, but it just completely differentiates you from any of the others, right? So,
And again, it
um,
helped me figure out what I wanted. Um, Going through that journey just to find the name gave me a good sense of like where I stand, um, with what I want to do and where I want to go with music. Um, and it helped a lot. Yeah, there's a lot more. I don't remember all of it, but there was like so many other things related to the number 9 that like resonated with me.
right,
So yeah, I'm not big on like astrology or anything like that. I do believe that there is a higher power. I believe that there is energy and there is a correlation between a lot of these things, but I'm not like, oh, I have to do exactly what this horoscope said or anything like that. But I do think that um, there's definitely energy to the universe and numerology and whatnot. So it's interesting to look up if anyone's curious to
yeah, no, fair
find your
enough.
number and your life path.
Well, and so as you were saying, it's kind of helped you define who you want to be as a musician and things like that. Do you have an end goal? Like, do you have a vision of where you see this being, say, 5 years down the road?
Yeah, I think for me, I love performing and I love writing, but I if I had to pick any part of what I do, if I had to give up everything else and pick one part of what I do, I say bury me in the studio. So for me, it's not necessarily just about my music, but about being able to create and help other people as well. So a lot of what I'm doing right now is collaborating, co-writing. I'm doing a little bit of producing and recording for some other artists. Um, and actually, right now I'm in the middle of a program called AE West, uh, for artist entrepreneurs. And typically they would hold it at the NMC, but again, because of COVID, it's all online. But basically, it's going through the entrepreneur side of being an artist. So copyright, legal agreements, getting your finances in order, what are royalties, how does publishing work, working with producers, like so kind of just going through all that side of it. And so I'm doing that right now, and that's been like really helpful again to now look 5 years and say, okay, here's the steps I got to take. Here's where I want to go with it. So ultimately, at the end of the day, where I want to be with music is um, doing it full time. I can't think of any artist who doesn't want to do that, but to be in a position where I'm creating, and whether that's just for myself or just for other people, just being in a position where I'm constantly creating.
Right. I mean, right now you're.
Shout
Hey,
out to Markus
Marcus.
Trimmer, who is also in the gang.
Yeah, he was just a guest not that long ago, actually. So that's
Gang,
awesome.
gang. Yeah, and he actually has a project coming up pretty soon. I'm gonna
Go ahead.
shamelessly promote you, Marcus. You can throw the info in the chat, but
Absolutely do it.
yeah, no, Marcus is a super talented musician. I've gotten to know him a bit more through this program, but I've been following him for a while, and he's killing it.
He is. Yeah. No, he's
Mm.
absolutely very talented. Um, Again, previous guest, so check out Marcus Drummer as well. There's the plug. um, well, I had another question in mind, but I got a little sidetracked there. And of course, being old, my mind just fades away. But what was I going to ask you? Oh, that's what I was going to ask you. So right now, you're producing your own stuff, all in house, right? In your apartment, really. Are you still in an apartment? I don't know. It's been a while.
No, I'm actually I'm in a house
Nice, nice.
now.
See, it's been a while since I've been to your place. So,
Yeah, yeah. Moving
but
up in the world.
right, absolutely. Um, Do you ever see a point where you actually work for like a studio production company, whatever,
Um,
or do you think you just can just do it yourself?
I will take whichever opportunity comes first, but ultimately, as much as I love having all this access at home, for me, I need to have that separation of church and state because otherwise, my TV's right there. And it's very easy to get distracted. So I actually would love to get to the point where I have a space um, that's not my house that I can go to be creative or productive, bring people in, um, even eventually have it so that it's not just me. There's other people working out of the office, out of the space. It's definitely been something that I've been dreaming about for a long time. There was actually a point back in 2012, 2013, where my brother and I were like, we started writing up a business plan, drawing floor plans, looking at spaces up in Red Deer, because we're kind of like, all right, well, Calgary's got a few things, Edmonton has a few things. Red Deer doesn't have a studio, but it's perfectly situated between these two hubs. So if we can get a studio in Red Deer, then one, Red Deer's got a crazy killer music scene, but then you're easy access to anyone coming from either side. So yeah, we had started throwing together the business plans. It didn't pan out, thankfully, because looking back, I would have died living in Red Deer. No offense to Red Deer. I love Red Deer and Red Deer musicians, but it just would not have worked for me. But
Yeah, no, fair enough. I mean, if COVID ever gets out of the way here, which hopefully it will, um, do you foresee yourself kind of doing some traveling shows and stuff like that?
yeah, yeah. I'm gearing up in the early part of next year to start recording a EP slash potentially an album. And so my plan is hopefully by the end of 2021 to be doing a little bit of touring and getting a little further outside of Alberta, outside of Canada. I would love to make my way to Europe.
Yeah,
Do a little touring in Europe would be amazing.
absolutely. Do you have a specific location in mind in Europe, or just all over? Do you have a
Well,
preference location?
we would start in Italy.
Start in Italy. Okay. All right.
Because why not? When get Rome in Rome. Come on.
Absolutely. Makes absolute sense, man. Yeah, totally. Surprised I didn't think of that to begin with. I don't know.
Well, honestly, like Italy for whatever reason has always been like my top location to visit, even before I was known as Rome or people called me Rome. Italy has always been something that's fascinated me, um, especially like just the architecture, the history there was always something I loved reading about. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, like Italy, Spain. I mean, I've been to England, so I don't. It'll be great, yeah. But
Yeah. Yeah.
Italy, Spain, Greece, the nice spots.
No, absolutely. It's yeah, I'd say Italy is definitely on one of my bucket list for sure eventually.
Sadly, it was actually like I was so close to going this year. Like I was putting all the pieces together to do it, and then COVID.
I know I had a buddy who was like he had his trip booked for Australia. Um, and literally I think it was the week before his flight is when they basically shut everything down. And he
Yeah.
was like, "Oh." He was ready to go for like 6 months or something, and
Oh man.
that was the end of that. So
And then like halfway through everything, I heard that Spain and Japan had started putting out like messages or like posts saying, if you come to visit, we'll pay half your expenses. And I'm like, well, like, why not? If I can do
right
that, if I have to catch COVID and I gotta die somewhere, I might as well do it in
for
an
half
amazing
price.
place. Yeah.
Oh man, that's awesome. Um, we didn't really chat too much about you. I mean, we touched on a little bit of some of the um, sound editing things you've done for a
Mhm.
couple of shorts and stuff. Um, I don't think that's something you do too much of right now, though, right? That's kind of something you've
Yeah, I've kind of put
refocused to the
the
music.
post side of things down for a bit. Um, actually, I did post sound on a project called The Narrator,
Okay,
and that actually just got nominated for 3 Stinger Awards: Best
nice.
Performance, uh, Best Screenplay, and Best Sound. So,
Excellent. Well, congrats and good luck on that one.
thank you. But yeah, like I'm not opposed to doing it, but it's not something that I'm striving to do. I had a few experiences working with directors and realized that I didn't want to be on that end of the stick.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I know you did some sound stuff for me as well for one of my
Hmm.
first short films as well,
Yes.
which I think worked out quite well. Um, and funny enough, that you were working with the same director from Pulp, so for that little project.
Our
Um,
small pulp community. Yeah.
exactly right. We're all intertwined somehow. Um, we're actually, yeah, like we're down to the last 7 minutes here, and I do know we. Well, I guess I should ask first. Are you up for doing a little song here at the
Yeah,
tail
we
end?
can do it.
Um, before we do, though, I just want kind of curious as to is it going to be something that we've heard before? No,
I'm gonna try a new
awesome.
one that I haven't even performed before. So.
Oh, that's even better, honestly. A first on Talent Talk. Yay!
Yeah.
I'm excited. I don't know. Hopefully the viewers
I'm
are as
I'm
well.
not. Oh man.
No,
I'm kidding.
I'm sure it'll be great, man. Um, so yeah, you whenever you're ready, you can kind of get right into it, and then we'll kind of wrap up with a couple more questions and stuff. So while Rome is playing, if anybody has any questions or anything, think about them and pop them up at the end of the song. It's all yours.
I guess this is goodbye. You rest your hand upon the door, your moonlight silhouette is on the floor. This midnight train wreck is going nowhere slowly. Reluctantly, I gather my things and I go. My deodorant and toothbrush in tow. All of the memories I used to hold. Nothing left to leave but the shell of a ghost. What do I do? I'll leave it here for you. I'll leave it on your nightstand, baby. Then one day you might just maybe dust it off again. But it's up to you. I'll leave it on your nightstand, baby. Then one day you might just maybe give me back the love you went and stole. I know you got your problems with control. You took my heart and made a home. Took all these feelings where they don't even belong. Why must you make this so hard? 'Cause honestly, I think you've gotta be one of the few who's ever seen the deepest part of every piece of my soul's anatomy. And I can't replace all of the pieces you have misplaced. So I guess this is the part where I wake up. I realize we're not in love. Let the covers slip away. 'Cause the hardest part of leaving a dream is knowing it's incomplete. But what do I do? be here for you. I'll leave it on your nightstand, baby. Then one day you might just maybe dust it off again. But it's up to you. I'll leave it on your nightstand, baby. Then one day you might just maybe.
Very nice, man. Thank you so much for doing
Thank
that.
you for allowing me to try it out here.
Absolutely. So yeah, if anybody has any comments or questions about that or anything else really about the show, go ahead, post them up. We'll do a quick little wrap up. I think I had maybe a quick 1 or 2 questions left for sorry, I was reading Marcus's name there for a second. For Rome, not Marcus. And then we'll wrap things up. So I guess man, I kind of have a couple questions, but anyway.
Hit me.
First off, let's just for fun. Do you have any, whether it's on the film side or the music side, do you have any funny anecdotes that you can recall that maybe happened, recording stuff or something that happened on set? Anything, just a little fun stuff at the end of the show here, just to put you on the spot.
Yeah, of course. Oh man. All right, cool. So I mentioned that I was on a project recently called the Surrogate, which, to answer your question, has not come out yet. But I'm in that with Charles Andrew Payne, another super talented actor in town who, again, is just a pleasure to work with. But yeah, so in that project, there was a scene where I needed to cry, and so all like the whole week leading up to it, I was kind of like trying to prepare myself, get super emotional. I had started watching this TV show called Jane the Virgin, and for those of you who don't know, in basically every episode of that show, they are crying. There's like, and so I was watching and I was like, how do you like get into that emotional state so many times and not like lose your mind? Anyways, so a lot of the episodes were kind of like, there's so much emotional content, and I kind of always felt like I was like being brought right to the edge of tears. And so I was like, all right, this will be perfect. I'm gonna walk into this shoot and I'm gonna be ready to cry because it's kind of been building up all week. And then of course you get on set and the pressure of, having to perform, it did not happen. And so we get to the shot that they wanted me to cry, and they're like, okay, we're gonna get the close-up of your face. And so it just so happened that around that time it was like 5-6 in the evening, and so I was starting to get a little tired, and so I was yawning a lot. I'm like, perfect. We're gonna fake tears with the yawning. So I think we managed to get a few shots where like I would have a tear rolling down the face, but then they're like, it's on the wrong side of your face. Like, can you get the other side?
Right.
Like, that's not how this works.
Then they set up camera on the other side, and then it comes out the other side.
It comes out the other, exactly, yeah.
Pretty typical, I think. Yeah.
Oh, man. Performance issues.
Right. We all have them. I don't know. Was that? Careful about how I say that.
Too much.
No. Yeah. All right. All right. On that note, that kind of wraps up our show. Thanks to the folks that joined us today. Thanks for chiming in and your comments. Always love it when you guys do that.
Hi, Jen.
Right? Yes. Good old Jan. And yeah, thanks for joining me, Rome. I appreciate you taking the time out and uh, sitting with me today and chatting and all that stuff.
Thank you for having me, man. It's been a little while coming, but
It has been, yes. I know. I have such a long list of folks that, yeah, I want on the show. Um, and next week's guest, just for folks watching right now, will be Larissa Thompson out of Vancouver. So stay tuned for that. And of course, like I said in the beginning of the show, that's also the episode we'll be announcing the co-host winner for the final episode of the season. So definitely tune in for that episode. On that note, thank you all again. Thank you, Jerome. Everybody have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week.